Good morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to acknowledge the funding from the Department of Agriculture and Water Resources. So this is, as Wendy mentioned, this is one of the ATMAC projects. We applied for the funding, I think, in the last year of the project. So fortunately, we got this project funded. That's why we're here today. I think this probably is one of the last of the projects funded through this program. And why we are interested in this project, as you know that Daigou has become quite frequently mentioned in the media, right? But in the academic or in the research world, it's not really explored much. So people tend to believe the stories reported in the media, and actually quite a lot of the stories are quite negative about fighting resources or starving babies in Australia. But this is not only of that, right? So we're thinking there must be some positive side of it. Maybe this channel can be utilized by Australian fresh producers to sell their products, their premium products, to the Chinese market. So that's why we're interested in this project and would like to explore a little bit further. Currently, most of the Daigou sell non-perishable products to China, like infant formula, vitamin supplements, and processed food. In terms of perishable products, actually, this is still not, or I can't say not exist, because there's still we can still see some from the data, but it's very, very small, limited, and there is a reason for it. That's why we want to look at whether this can be increased or this can be utilized for fresh producers in Australia. I was in the SAIL show exhibition in Shanghai last week. So SAIL is the largest, the Asia's largest food and beverage innovation exhibition, and the third largest in the world. So a lot of food and beverage manufacturers, producers took part in the show, in the exhibition. Of course, Food SA was there, and with a number of South Australian producers. Victoria government was there as well. A lot of Victorian agricultural and food beverage producers were there as well. And during the before the show, there was a briefing by Austrade, and I went to that briefing as well, and I found some of the content was quite interesting. So instead of so before we go into this project, I would like to share with you some of the interesting points I learned last week in the Austrade briefing. So this was provided by Tmall. Tmall, as you know, is one of the subsidiary of Alibaba. So it's one of the biggest e-commerce platform in China. So this is about the China opportunity, about the retail market size. As you can see, it's a China is the world's largest retail market in 2017. And because Tmall is focusing on online business, so the online penetration of Chinese overall retail market will reach, they predict it will reach 25% by 2020. And regarding imported goods, the Chinese, especially the middle-class Chinese, has a very big appetite for that. So the proportion of online consumers in China who purchase imported goods is 40%, which is quite high. And as you will learn later from our project, we had an online survey as well, and our estimate of consumers in China who purchase Australian food and beverage proportion is 41%, which is really close to this. And again, this is about the size of internet users in China, and it's about the same size as the internet users in Europe, and it's more than double the size of internet users in the US, and it's much more than those in Australia and New Zealand, of course. And China is huge, of course. Not every Chinese can afford to buy premium products from overseas. So if you want to sell to China, obviously your target consumers will be the middle class consumers, with the number of about 400 million by 2020, which is equivalent to the economy of Germany. And these are the 10 key trends identified by Austrade or from their observation. So they observed that in terms of regulation, it's actually it's stable now, because China has a massive government reshuffle, restructure, I think back 2 years back. So now it's kind of already settled down. So they expect regulatory stability. And of course, the laws and the policies focus more on consumer safety, consumer protection. So that's why the new law of e-commerce being implemented in early of this year. And they observed the omni-retail giants. So these are the multi-channel retail businesses. They were blurring business models. They have both physical stores, they have online, and they have mobile, so all channels. And it's all about big data as well in China, so consumers register on their mobile phone, and everything they do is captured by the mobile platform. Like Alibaba, of course, is one of the big data harvester. So they use this data to study consumers, so it's all big data driven. And the new technologies in the market. And not only first tier is the focus, the second and third tier are rising quite fast as well. So if you think the competition in the first tier city is really fierce, you can start with the second and third tier, because for many Australian producers, your volume is small. Like even a small proportion of the second, third tier consumers are willing to buy your product, it will be a win for you. And of course, the rise of the middle class, and the age in China also will create some new demand for some specialized products, which focusing on health and aging population. Health, of course, you are what you eat. So like organic food and food that's low sugar and food that has higher fiber content. These are very in trends in China as well. And food safety is still top of the mind in the Chinese market. So that's why many people, they pay a premium for imported goods from Australia and New Zealand, because they believe food standards in these countries are very high, and they have a peace of mind by purchasing the food from those countries. And the last will be the personalization, convenience, and UX demands growing. So this will all about customize your product to focus on the needs of the consumers. And this is the trends identified by Tmall. So Tmall is online mall, so this is more focusing on the online market. So very similarly, they have healthy side and low sugar, and imported food, very popular global trend of food. And then they also identified some interesting trend. That's a historical brand, and all brands with a long history. This is what you need to focus when you market to the Chinese market, saying that your brand, if your brand is established a long time ago with a rich history, then this could be a really good selling point. And then convenience, individual packs. So those processed food especially, they are packaged in very small packs for convenience. It's not like a large pack. So Chinese consumers really, they like individual packs. And social topics, this would be like social media star, and then they can help you to promote your product. So these are the trends and observations in the Chinese market at the moment. I think it's quite interesting to share with you. So these are all the things Austrade involved with in the China market to promote food and beverage products from Australia. So this is the 18-19 financial year. I think it will be quite similar for the 19-20 financial year. So if you're interested in any of these, you can have a look at or get in touch with Austrade. They can help you on this as well. Let's talk about the current project we're doing. Our project actually has 3 main components. The first one, we are interested in knowing the general Daigou trade pattern. So this will be the parcels sent from Australia to China. Most of them would just be non-perishable products. And this is the first component. The second component is to understand the Daigou business, or how this works from the point of view of Daigou agents. So we interviewed like 20 Daigou agents, and then we get some insights from them. Mostly will be qualitative responses from them. And the third is the online survey of Chinese consumers in the target 15 provinces and cities. So these provinces and cities will be the very popular destination for Australian food and beverage products. And from this, we ask the consumers a range of questions like, what channels do they prefer to purchase Australian food and beverage products? Not only the Daigou channel, we also ask them about the physical channel, the e-commerce channel, or the specialty supermarkets channel, etc. So from this, we can really have understanding, okay, what is the size of the potential Daigou consumers? What is size compare this with the potential size of consumers still preferring the conventional trade channels? So I would be talking about the Daigou trade summary. So my talk will consist of, first of all, the Chinese economy overview and the trade mode overview, and then we will introduce the source of our parcel data, and then the analysis on the parcel level and also the recipient level. So this has been covered actually just now about the size of the Chinese economy. So I won't be repeating this here. So this is the trade overview. This is actually done by one of our master students, David. So this is one of his master research projects. So after reviewing the literature, and then he come up with this graph about depicting the 4 major trade modes for overseas product, or like Australian product to China. So the first one is the conventional import, just from the supplier, and then customer border in Australia and the customer border in China, and then the buyer, business buyer, and then to consumers. So this is the conventional import. And then there is bounded import, which will be from the business supplier and clear the customers in Australia, and this will be a bounded area in China. And from this bounded area, mostly will be online e-commerce operators, and then Chinese consumers will order these products, and when the order is done, and then it's sent from here, and then it will go through customer clearance, and then directly sent to Chinese consumers. And there's also direct purchase, which will flow from supplier and clear the customers, and then directly go to consumers, which will not involve the wholesaler or reseller here. And then there's Daigou. So Daigou has a few ways. So you can go through the formal customer clearance, or it can just go directly through like carrying the luggage by travelers, and which will just directly go to Chinese domestic consumers. So these are the four modes at the moment. So the database we use come from major courier companies based in Melbourne and Sydney. So these are they are the largest courier companies in Australia. Apart from their own online shipping orders, they also process parcels from smaller couriers located in major cities, including the capital cities around Australia. So that's why they actually process the majority of parcels sent from Australia to China. And the data we use is from January 2017 to February 2018. And this data is representative of the Australian Daigou parcel sent to China during this period. And in the data set, we have the product descriptions, such as what the product is, infant formula, which brand, whether it's Aptamil or it's A2 or other brands. And then we have the quantity, like how many cans or how many packs. And we have obviously the essential characteristics of the buyers. So in China, if you receive overseas parcel, you have to submit your identity number to the customers for clearance. So the identity number contains the province. So the numbers actually have a province identification. It also has your birth year identification. So from this number, we can know where the recipient is located in China, and also the age of the recipient, and also the address. From the address, we can double check the province. So this is the composition of all the parcel records. So in total, we have more than 2.5 million records from January 17 to February 18. And among them, as you can see, 50 are infant formula. So that's why this is really hot topic in the media reported. And the second largest category is the non-food category. So these are things like over-the-counter medicine, Panadol, which is quite popular, which you probably don't believe. What else? Non-food. Cosmetics, skincare products are popular as well. And the UGG boots, UGG boots is popular as well. So these are the non-food categories. And the third largest, the health supplements. Black Moss is a very well-known brand in the Chinese households. And then we have some smaller category of adult milk powder. We have other baby food, like organic baby food from Bellamy is popular here as well. We have this OTC medicine as a separate category actually, because it's still quite large. Then we have some agricultural products, wine, okay, and we have fruits as well. So very small. I will talk about this in a minute. So not only the total number of products we can identify, we can also identify the size of the parcel, which is quite important in terms of how you package your products or how you promote your product. So most of baby formula will be sent in the form of 3 cans. So one parcel will contain 3 cans. This will be the most for most size of a parcel. And adult milk powder, again, it's not that extreme, like 30% is 3 bags, and then about 20%, 60, like 6 bags. And then people also send 2 bags as well. Very few send 4 or 5 bags. So these are the majority of the size of the parcel for adult milk powder. In terms of 1, 2, a pack, okay, twin pack is the most popular. So if you have your pack just twin pack, so that will be convenient to be sent if people buy that and send it back to China, okay? But these will be like very few package size. For the wine and fresh produce, fresh fruits, we have recorded like 5,000 parcels. For fruits, most parcels were posted from November 17, and which will go to December, January 18, and February 18 as well. So we can have a guess that these fruits were very likely to be mangoes and cherries in Australia, because these 2 type of fruits are in season, and these 2 are also very popular from our observation. So this is a very safe assumption. So in terms of the fresh produce parcel, in Australia, you can send fresh produce less than 10 kilos, as long as the courier company accepts them. Okay, so you don't need to go through the clearance or permit of anything if the parcel is less than 10 kilograms. But in China, you cannot receive of fresh produce of any quantity. So any quantity have to be declared, go through inspection, testing, unless you obtain clearance in Australia before send that to China. But obviously, under 10 kilos, you don't need to do this in Australia. But if you have that, like for bulk of your agricultural products, and then you have those certificates, those approval, and then you like send parcels, like 5 kilo parcels to China, together with these documents, then you will have the waiver of the inspection testing on the China side. Then they can receive that, as long as they're a courier company that can accept the fresh produce. So we are not sure which is the case from the data. So if the fruits have not got the clearance in Australia and then being sent to China without the certificates, also all this paperwork, then they could be seized by the Chinese customers. Or sometimes it could just be overlooked by the customers and still get into the Chinese market because they are very small parcels. We don't know. But that's a risk if you don't have those paperwork. Okay, in terms of the temporary distribution, we have selected 3 products: the infant formula, wine, and adult milk powder. So first of all, the bar chart is a temporary distribution of parcels for wine. As you can see, we have 1, 2, 3. So these 3 are spikes, which correspond to 3 festivals in China. So this one is more like Dragon Boat Festival. Okay, so this one is like the National Day celebration and also Middle Autumn Festival, and this will be the Chinese New Year. Okay, So you know when to promote your wine if you are in the wine business. This will be the peak demand in China. And for the adult milk powder, you can see some pattern as well. So every 4 months there is a peak. So we think because of the size of the adult formulas, like 3 bags, 6 bags are really quite popular parcel sizes. So depending on the family size, 3 and 6 bags can last generally 4 months' time in a Chinese family. So that's why if people buy here, so every 4 months, they probably will buy again from here again, okay? And for the baby formula, this one has quite big fluctuation. This depends on the supply in Australia as well, because in Australia, we experience shortage of baby formula from time to time. That's why you can see these big fluctuations as here. So the previous analysis is on the parcel level. Now we turn to the recipient level. So these are the social demographic information for the Chinese recipients. For the over 2.5 million parcels, we identified around 864,000 recipients. So as you can see, on average, each of them receives 3 parcels. Okay, but we can see that actually half of them, 45% of them only receive 1 parcel. Okay, they are probably just curious, or they just want to try some Australian products, but they never again, at least for the time period, for that over 1 year period, they only received 1 parcel from Australia. Possibly, there are lots of possibilities. Once they receive parcel from the Daigou here, if they like it, they may choose to find similar products in the physical store as well. Yeah, if they think the Daigou is just too complicated, or they have to wait a long time, they can just choose. If they are in like Shanghai or Guangzhou with lots of high-end supermarkets stocking Australian products, they can just go there, and if the price is similar, they can choose to buy from the physical store. And about 22% receive 2 parcels, and 9% receive 3 parcels. And as you can imagine or guess, a big proportion of female recipients, about 79%, and most of them purchase 1 or 2 times. The average age in our database suggests for all the recipients 35, and for female 34, and for male 37. So we have a slightly higher average age for male than female, and the difference, as you can see, is statistically significant. And the age group, we have the majority of them in this age group, okay, which is not surprising because given the baby formula is the major product purchased, and this age group actually, the main age group, have small children, okay. But we still have quite a lot of them in this age group, possibly the consumers of health supplements. In terms of the individual products, for infant formula, as we just mentioned, so most of them will be in this age group, and then still quite substantial percentage in this group as well. Very few here. And this is somewhat different. This is milk powder. Even though this is still the highest percentage, highest proportion of recipients in this age group, but the percentage actually is quite much smaller compared with the 70% of the baby formula. So we have quite a lot, 29% here, and we have quite a lot of male recipients in the 45 to 55 age group. And then like 65 plus, we have 7% as well here. So if you consider the size of the population, then 7% actually is quite big in terms of the absolute number of people. So this is about the gray in China. And this is the wine. Again, this is different picture. So the consumption actually move towards the older people. And we have 45, 54 range. This range has a quite high percentage for wine consumption, and this group as well, compared with the previous two products. So in terms of the geographic distribution in China, this is the whole China map. And then we have the Guangdong, which ranks the first, the most popular destination for Daigou parcels. So this is always ranked the first, Guangdong province. So this will be the Pearl River Delta. And then we have the second in the Yangtze River Delta. Shanghai here, Jiangsu here, and Zhejiang here. And then we have the capital area, Beijing capital. And then we have the southeast Fujian province, which is close to Taiwan. So this has a quite high purchasing power for the Daigou products. And then the inland, so Sichuan province actually drives a lot of consumption as well. So this will be the tier 2 city, and this will be tier 2 cities, and this one will be tier 2 cities, and this will be tier 2 cities as well. So Shanghai is tier 1. So if tier 1 cities here, Guangzhou, Shanghai, Guangzhou, Beijing, Shanghai, if they have really fierce competition, then tier 2 or tier 3 might be a trial for you. So to conclude the Daigou parcel analysis, we can say that huge amount of products are sold through this channel. Preferred item numbers per parcel for different product categories. And this will have implication for packaging, designing, and marketing. And we observe really few number of parcels of fresh produce sent directly and individually to China. So possibly due to regulation of both governments. For some products, the volume actually is according to the Chinese festivals, such as wine, and fruits volume would be according to the seasonality of Australia. But you can also plan that to meet the high demands of the Chinese New Year around January and February. And customers of different product categories also have different age and gender patterns. So you know which are your target consumers, whether it's older or younger, female, male. And in terms of the destination of the Daigou parcels, so these areas will be the high consumption area for Australian Daigou products. So this is about the parcel data analysis. Next will be the Chinese consumers' preferences for Australian food and beverage products, presented by Professor Sarah Wheeler. So we will have the question session at the end, and then all our speakers will come up here, and then we can have a question and answer sessions. Is that all right? Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Alec. All right, good morning, everyone. It's really good to see so many people here. I hope you're enjoying the morning so far, and I hope we haven't overloaded you with statistics and everything. This is what academics do. You know, we like looking at the data, we like trying to understand what the patterns are, and what are the key insights from a variety of different sources. So Alec has talked about courier data at the moment, parcel data and all the trends and what we know with that. What I'm going to talk about is a survey that we did of Chinese consumers. So with the parcel data, although we had some information on their social demographics of who the Chinese consumers were, we didn't have a lot of information about their household, about their incomes, about their attitudes. And we also didn't know what else are they purchasing. So if we're worried about Chinese preferences for Australian products, we also want to know how does that compare to, say, their preferences to buying products from other countries. So that's why we did this survey, and Sil later is going to talk about the qualitative research that we did. So this whole project is kind of like triangulating a number of different sources of data to be able to try and get insights about what do we really understand about Australian trade to China. So the overview of what I'm going to talk about is the survey that we did, the information of our respondents, what they prefer to purchase and where they get their information from, retail channels, an estimate of the customer base in China by different type of Australian product, and I'm going to finish with some of their attitudes. Okay, so we used a professional surveying company in Shanghai, GMO. Almost 1,829 consumers completed our survey in 2018 and 19. We looked at 15 targeted provinces across China because, as a reminder, we knew from the parcel data where a lot of those products were going. So we had particular provinces in China that we were looking to sample from. Our population, we were targeting our population, so we excluded people if they were under 18, if they were students, if they weren't in our targeted locations, and if they weren't the decision maker for purchasing groceries in their household. We also excluded a large amount of participants if they had not purchased any food or beverage products from our targeted countries. So the targeted countries we were interested in about, you know, who's buying different types of products in China from overseas. We were interested in if they'd purchased from Australia, New Zealand, United States, Canada, Germany, France, UK, Italy, Netherlands, South America, Vietnam, Thailand, Indonesia, Philippines. Okay, so we wanted to know what's the population in China, you know, who are they, where are they purchasing from, and how does that compare to those who are purchasing Australian products. Okay, so in terms of knowing who our surveys was, so Group A, 1,022 out of the 1,829, they had purchased at least one Australian product in the last 12 months. And 807 hadn't purchased any Australian products. So they'd bought from the other range of countries that I just mentioned. If you take into account all the population and the exclusion, etc., the probability of our sample of our Chinese population of purchasing an Australian food or beverage product in the previous 12 months is 0.41. So it's relatively high. Now, in terms of who's purchasing, the Group A, who's purchasing Australian products. Now, this is very similar to the parcel, the Daigou analysis that Alec just put up. But we know the majority, 64%, are aged between 25 to 49. We also know that most of them are female, 78% are female. So that's some key demographics of our population. They're also very highly educated, okay? People who, the Group A, the Australian food and beverage purchasers, 76% had a bachelor degree, and 9% had a master degree and above. And when you compare the stats between the Australian purchasers versus other countries, they are more likely to be higher educated than purchasing from other countries. So we're dealing with a very highly educated population that is purchasing Australian food and beverages in China. In terms of income, this is quite an interesting pattern. So they are relatively higher, have higher income than the average Chinese family in China. However, the probability doesn't increase as you go up in income. The monthly income for the family, it doesn't necessarily increase until you get to the very top income, and then it increases. But there is a bit of a bell shape going on here. So even though they're much more likely to be highly educated, they're not necessarily more likely to be a higher income driving purchase of Australian food and beverages. And this also potentially comes back to the purchase of infant formula and age and characteristics of the Chinese household. So when we ask them the question, are you generally a person who's unwilling to take food safety risks? So this is the response for the group A, the Australian food and beverage purchasers. The majority of them said no or maybe. Okay, some of them are, 41% are willing to take risks, but there is an issue here regarding food preferences and risks and their attitudes to food quality, which we'll come back to later. So this is a bit of a comparison between those who were purchasing from a range of countries. So on the left, okay, good, it works. So on the left is a range of countries here about where they were purchasing their goods from. And Group A is the Australian purchases, and all is everyone, so it lumps everyone together. And we've broken it down by beef, dairy products and fresh fruits. So what this is showing is, if you look at the highlighted line, that basically Chinese respondents believe Australia is offering higher food safety quality issues compared to all the other countries in our sample which our respondents had purchased from. This is statistically significant. They think Australia is offering much higher quality food safety. So this is true for beef, it's true for dairy products, and it's true for fresh fruits. So this is a good thing for Australian exporters, and it's something that we could probably market a lot more. So in terms of trying to understand what they bought, so again, we know from the parcel data what's actually being shipped through the courier trade. This is a breakdown of what people in China say that they're purchasing from Australia, and this is from all areas, whether it's from supermarkets, e-commerce, social media, or specialty stores. So the majority, 62%, had purchased some form of dairy product, whether it's adult formula versus baby formula. The next highest is 41% said they'd purchased health supplements, 32% wine, 30% processed. Processed food, fresh fruit and meat are all pretty similar, and baby formula has been pulled out by itself, and seafood is the lowest percentage of purchase. So in terms of trying to understand, why were people saying, why did the Group A people buy Australian food and beverages, and then why did the Group B people, why did they not buy Australian food and beverages? So this is just a summary of a lot of the information that was in the survey. The Group A, the reason that they said they bought products from Australia is they believed it was high quality. So that's the biggest reason driving purchase of Australian products. 60% said that. At the same time, nearly 50% believed it was a high safety level. So that was their preference for why they bought Australian goods. Integrity, they believed in the integrity of the Australian agriculture and the food that they were purchasing. That was 37%. And value for money. This is This is only a third, but it was mentioned that they thought Australian products were better value for money, taking into consideration all factors such as price, integrity, safety, quality, etc. A third of our respondents said that's why they bought Australian products. So for Group B, so these are the people who had not purchased, remember, Australian product in the last 12 months, but they'd bought from some other overseas country. The reason why they didn't buy Australian products, the highest reason given to us, they had no recommendations from family or friends in China. So none of their networks, whether they're through their friends or their family, were using or buying Australian products, and that's why they said they didn't buy Australian products. A third said low value for money, so their perception was that the prices were higher and didn't offer the quality that they were looking for. Similarly, a third had no links to family and friends in Australia, so they cited that as a reason. And another third said unavailability of a reliable retailer, so they couldn't source the product. So that was another reason why they told us they weren't buying Australian food and beverages. So we wanted to try and understand what was the information that Chinese purchasers were using for why they were buying Australian products. So these results are showing the Group A, the group that had bought Australian products, and their responses to what information sources they used on Australian products. So it's broken down from, they never use this source, to sometimes, frequently use that as a source of information, to yes, they use a lot all the time. So what this is basically showing us is that it can be quite different, the sources between how frequently you use in terms of, if you use the paper media, websites, family and friends, store promotion, TV advertisements, social media. And we can also break this information down by where they actually purchase their good. Are they purchasing in specialty stores, etc.? But one of the key things is that family and friends and store promotions and TV adverts, it can influence Chinese, the sources that they use for information on Australian products. But social media and family and friends are quite important for influencing consumer population, their choice of information sources for Australian products quite a bit. So that's some of the information sources. So this is this graph. I know there's a lot of figures up here, and tell me to slow down if I'm going too fast. Okay, no one's saying anything? Okay, so this slide is basically looking at preferred retail channels for different Australian products. So again, this is where people are buying Australian products. Are they buying it in supermarkets? Are they getting it through specialty stores? Are they getting it through e-commerce channels? Or are they going through Daigou, through friends and relatives on social media? And it's broken down by the type of Australian product. And we have the results for everyone in the survey, the 1,829 versus the Group A, the only Australian producers. So what this is showing us is that preferred retail channels, the biggest channels are supermarkets, specialty stores, e-commerce. So Daigou and social media through friends and relatives only make up a very small amount of preferred retail channels for Australian products. They are relatively more important in some areas. For example, the highlighted one, we know for dairy and infant formula and health supplements, we know that they're quite important. For things such as meat, wine, seafood, and fresh fruit, other areas are relatively more important. So this is just highlighting that retail channels for Australian products can be quite different, and the preferences can change between the different groups. So From our survey and knowing our preferences and knowing what purchases the Chinese population were actually purchasing from Australia, we did kind of almost a back of the envelope estimate of, what is the size of the Chinese customer base that we're talking about for the surveyed provinces, our 14 surveyed provinces within China. Again, this is going back similarly, the biggest population for purchasing Australian products will occur through supermarkets, through specialty stores and e-commerce. And Daigou, even though it's quite significant, 1.1 million households is still a lot, it's relatively much smaller than the other channels. So basically, there's quite significant population who would purchase Australian products. It ranges from the smallest being 0.53 million through the Daigou channel for meat, up to 9 million for wine through a physical, through a specialty store, and nearly 8 million for fruit and seafood through supermarkets. So we're talking about a considerable, large Chinese population who's willing and able to buy Australian products. So in terms of what are the reasons people cite for their preferred channels of why they buy Australian food and beverage products, so we already know from the overview presented before, food safety, quality, taste and product are the most important reasons why they choose to buy Australian product through a particular channel. Through friends and relatives on social media, it's motivated by referrals from family and friends. So the more you have family and friends, whether in Australia or whether in China, talking about their experience and their use of Australian products, the more that they'll influence the use of Daigou trade and things like that. Price considerations are the most significant reason for choosing e-commerce channels for things such as fruits, food, processed food, infant formula, health supplements, or social media for dairy products, meat, wine and seafood. The availability of organic products is also a relatively important reason for some product categories, such as specialty stores for dairy products and seafood, social media for meat, fruits and processed foods, and e-commerce for dairy products and infant formula. But it's seemingly unimportant. So these are things that didn't really seem to matter to our Chinese consumers. Membership schemes, frequent promotions, and recommendations from friends and relatives, except in the social media side. So in terms of all the specialty stores and the supermarkets and the e-commerce, recommendations didn't matter as much for purchase within those channels. Okay, so this is my end slide. So we know that there is quite a large Chinese consumer base for Australian products. We also know that they're highly educated, they're relatively wealthy, they're more likely to be female. And this is basically just giving us a bit of a summary of their responses to a number of attitudinal questions that we ask them, to try and work out, what really kind of drives a lot of purchasing behaviour, and what are the aspects of it. So the statement where there was highest agreement, so this is results from the total survey, is that detailed information on the farm and the growing environment provided by retailers that can be verified will increase consumers' trust on the integrity of Australian fresh produce. So that was very highly agreed on. So that in terms of fresh produce, Chinese consumers really want to know where it's coming from. Is it guaranteed to be coming from that farm and that area, etc. And that will definitely drive increased purchase of Australian products in the future. In terms of other strong agreement, 5.9. In terms of I am willing, Chinese consumers agreed with the comment, I am willing to pay a price premium to ensure purchased dairy products are authentic and guaranteed from Australia. So there's quite strong agreement with that statement. And there's also strong agreement with I'm willing to pay a price premium to ensure beef purchase is guaranteed from Australia. And then similarly, we fall down to they're willing to pay price premiums for fresh fruits, and that there's seasonal advantage between China and Australia is an advantage of Australian fresh fruits. So basically, consumers are telling us they're willing to pay price premiums for dairy products, for beef, and for fresh fruits in terms to guarantee that they know it's coming from Australia. So that's the areas that it's coming out in our survey about what the main drivers of Chinese consumer purchase of Australian products is. So that's it. Thank you.
And now we have, I think after Shuchun's presentation, we'll have a morning tea break.
Hi, hello everyone. I don't like stand between you and the morning tea, but this is Alec's arrangement. Yeah, and thanks goes to Sarah and Alec, who introduced the interesting findings we derived from the our secondary data and our primary survey. Now I'm going to introduce some interesting things about our in-depth interview. So I will start with introducing the aims and the structure of the interview, then briefing you the characteristics of our Daigou agents in Australia and their customers in China. Of course, our focus will be on the key findings, on the details of operation process of the Daigou business. Here. Okay, so why did we conduct the interview at the first place? Well, we would like to have a better understanding of at least 3 things that have not been clearly presented by previous research. First is the characteristics of Daigou agents in Australia and their customers in China. And second, the operational process of Daigou business. And third, the complex factors that shape the Daigou business operation. So our interviews aim to help to close these research or knowledge gaps. According to the aims, the semi-structured interview comprises 3 essential parts. First part is the personal background of Daigou agents, and the second part is about the operation of Daigou business, and third, of course, the factors that shape Daigou business and their revenue. So now let's begin with the characteristics of Daigou agents. Okay, the first slide is about the demographic characteristics. We conducted 20 semi-structured face-to-face interviews in the late January to February 2019. 17 out of the 20 Daigou agents are women. So we can see that Daigou is a female-dominant work. And most of our respondents are in their 20s and 30s, a very young age group. And there are only 3 respondents who are 40 years old and above. Our respondents are from different places of China, but many of them, or most of them, are from the relatively developed coastal regions, such as the Yangtze River Delta and Guangdong. Yangtze River Delta including Shanghai, Zhejiang provinces, and Jiangsu province, Zhejiang province and Jiangsu province. I think this finding corresponds to our findings from the survey data, from our secondary data, as Alec just presented, that most customers, most buyers are from these regions. So people from the same place are easy to build their business networks. Okay, regarding the visa type, the respondents entered and stayed in Australia on various visas. Most respondents entered Australia on student visa. Other visa categories include the subsequent entrant visa, the working holiday visa, and of course, the skilled independent visa. Well, at the time of interview, we can see 60% of our respondents have obtained their permanent residency or Australian citizenship. So, well, of course, some of them still are holding student visa. Our current academic publications on Daigou business largely focused on international students as Daigou agents. However, our findings suggest that permanent residents account for a large part of Daigou agents. That's more research attention should be paid to the permanent residents. Our respondents have 2 to 6 years Daigou experience. They provided several reasons of why they start a Daigou business at the very beginning. So most of them indicated that they started Daigou business due to the requirement of their relatives and friends in China. So these Daigou agents initially bought the Australian products just for their family and friends and relatives, and then later they found it profitable. Then, okay, they decided to start a Daigou business. Over 1/3 of respondents started Daigou business because Daigou activities allow flexible working hours. So Daigou agents can therefore arrange their Daigou business around their other important life, work, and study arrangements. Other reasons mentioned include the Daigou business is a low-entry business that does not require a high startup capital or any high-level professional skills. People and so this one is very easy to enter and very easy to run this kind of business. People also need money to subsidize the life expenses in Australia, especially for international students. And also some people mentioned that they could not be able to find other jobs, suitable jobs to support their life in Australia. So Daigou business is a good start for them. Regarding working hours on Daigou business, 78%, so most of them work part-time. The average working hour for all respondents are 21 hours per week, so which is a quite high figure. Half of them work 16 hours and more, and while other half work less than 16 hours. The gross revenue varies significantly among Daigou agents, ranging from 5,000 a year to nearly 1.5 million a year. So most of them have a relatively low revenue below $7,000 per month. This is quite reasonable, as most of these Daigou agents work part-time. One of the Daigou agents indicated an annual revenue of nearly 1.5 million. This respondent owns a physical store. Okay, so they sell the products not only to Chinese customers but also to other small Daigou agents. So that's a physical store there. Okay, if we classify Daigou agents to different types according to their working hours and revenue, there are 3 general types. First, Daigou agents who run physical shops, as we just mentioned. So these kind of physical shops are often called courier shops because they specialize in delivering parcels to China, to their customer in China, and also stock some popular products that other smaller Daigou agents might need. There are 2 respondents working full-time to run their physical shops. One of them we just mentioned generate a quite high revenue, and the other refused to provide any information on the revenue. Second type is full-time Daigou agents, but they don't have physical shops. So they purchase products from various retailers, including the physical Daigou shops. And the last type is the most common one, the casual Daigou agents. As we mentioned before, there are 78% of Daigou agents belong to this group. They arrange Daigou business around their other work and study and life responsibilities. Okay, that's about the characteristics of Daigou agents. This slide shows the characteristics of the customers. Our respondents frequently describe their customers like young mothers, people who care about health, people who having concerns of food safety, and people having middle class income, and quality-oriented person. So I think these characteristics are closely related to economic, social, and environmental changes in China. Rapid economic development in China has stimulated the growth of middle-class populations, as Alec has already introduced. So these people live and overseas products now are quite affordable. While China's development at the cost of environment and high-speed production that compromises quality urges these relatively wealthy people to pursue safe and high-quality products, especially the products that they believe can protect their health from the like the pollution and the unsafe food. And China recently loosened their one-child policy, so you can imagine more babies, more money, and less trust in the domestic products. So that's really encouraged the purchasing behavior across the national borders. So customers from different age groups also have different shopping interests. For example, people under 30 or at the early 30s are more likely to purchase cosmetics and infant formula. And while those who in the late 30s and 40s and above, they expressed a stronger or more interest in health supplements. Okay, let's move to the Daigou business operation. Regarding types of products, Daigou agents sell a wide range of products, including infant formula, milk powder, health supplement, cosmetics, luxury brands, OTC medicines, even groceries, and perish products such as fruit, meat, seafood, and so on. Among these products, infant formula, adult milk powder, and health supplements were the most popular, as cited by our respondents. Well, the most popular health supplements include grape seed extractions, cranberry extractions, fish oil, calcium tablets, vitamin tablets, Q10, DHA, and propolis. Well, something which I'm not quite familiar with, but I think Chinese customers, like them. And for skincare products, the most cited brands were E-Soap and Jernic. Okay, now the question is from where the Daigou agents source their products. Okay, most Daigou agents directly purchase their products from the supermarkets and pharmacies, such as Terry White, Chemist Warehouse, Priceline, and then send them to their customers through the express delivery services. And a few Daigou agents, they also purchase their products from Daigou physical stores and ask these stores to post the products to their customers on behalf of them, so they don't really touch the product. They don't really handle the product directly. In addition to these approaches, larger Daigou agents can directly purchase product from wholesalers and distributors at a wholesale price. But it's very unlikely for them to secure agreement with suppliers, which is as good as that the suppliers with the supermarket and pharmacies in terms of price and the supply priority. This is just simply because their volume transaction is not large enough. Interestingly, when certain products are in shortage, such as the very popular A2 formula stage 3 and goat milk, some smaller Daigou agents and some people who actually are not Daigou, they don't have any customers in China, they just live in Australia, and they got some time. So these people will go to other retailers like supermarkets and pharmacies to buy like the formula. They buy this formula on the regular price and they sell these products to Daigou physical stores on a higher price. So they profit from the price difference. So we can see during this process, many people who are not, actually they don't call themselves Daigou, they don't have any customer, but they still involved in these Daigou activities. And through this channel, the Daigou physical store can still maintain their supply to their customers, even they cannot get the supply from the distributors or wholesalers. Another important work of Daigou is, of course, to build networks with the customers. Daigou business networks largely built on personal social networks, especially at the beginning. Our respondents indicate that their main customers are their relatives, friends, and acquaintances, who will later introduce their acquaintances to the Daigou agents. So, but not since there are so many Daigou. So Daigou agents, their social networks are sometimes or largely overlapping with each other. So a customer in China usually have multiple contacts of Daigou agents. So who will ultimately, finally win this customer? That's depend on first price and second, the time, your service, your customer service. The customer service, the key point is how you make your customer believe the products you sell is genuine Australian products. Because now there's so many Daigou there, they're very competitive. So it's very difficult to convince your customer that your products is with high quality and reasonable price. Because the marketing system is mainly centered on social networks, so we can see the financial cost of advertising is relatively low, but the time spent on building trust is massive. Okay, here are some examples of social media marketing of Daigou business. The social media include public access social media, such as the left column, like the TikTok, Redbook, Weidian, and the right column, the first one from the right column, the forums. Okay, so the public can access, anybody can see it. But it also, even more importantly, they advertise through their private purpose social media, such as WeChat and Weibo. That's the last two in the right column. So after sourcing products and securing their customers, how a transaction is actually made. The respondents indicate different transaction pathways for perishable and non-perishable products. We have two figures here. The left one illustrating the information or the order cash goods flow of perished products, and the right one depicting that of the non-perished products. There are 12 Daigou agents out of 20 respondents who had experience selling the perishable products to the Chinese customer. The most mentioned products are cherries, mangoes, beef, lamb, grapes, kiwi fruits, avocados, white peaches, and seafood and fresh milk. Yeah, so basically the fresh products that we can imagine, they all sell them to China. Due to the quarantine regulation, so fresh products cannot be shipped in individual small parcels to the Chinese customers. So the so-called Australian fresh produce Daigou is actually a business activities that Daigou agents, they promote. They do not directly handle these products, but they just use their social networks to sell these products, which have been already imported and stored in China. So Daigou agents receive orders from their customers. After they post the product information on their social media, then the order will be sent to the customers from the warehouse in China on behalf of Daigou. So compared to non-perished products, the key difference is that Daigou agents do not have any a direct contact with their products, and they must rely on the importing companies to ensure the product quality. Therefore, for Daigou agents, there are higher risk of problematic products. For example, fruits may be rotten, or people find it's not fresh when they were received. So this will leave the Daigou agents to proceed the compensation process. Well, some Daigou complains that this may undermine their reputation, which they much care about, and this can, often incur a lot of time. So this might be the key barrier to selling fresh products to China by Daigou, this Daigou channel. Most Daigou agents believe that social network, their own social network or their Daigou channel played a very limited role in actually selling these products. But they believe this is Daigou's social network is a very effective marketing strategy for fresh produce exporters and importers. This is a very low-cost advertising that can familiarize Chinese customers with Australian fresh products and encourage them to buy these products maybe from other reliable sources like physical stores in China and other e-commerce platforms in China. The respondents also outlined some important factors that shape the Daigou business and revenue. The first factor is price. The price of some products during supply shortages, such as the products we mentioned before, the A2 formula and the goat milk. The price of these products often rise significantly during the supply shortage. So high price will, of course, cause a decreased revenue. Regarding fresh products, such as seafood, lamb, and fruits, Daigou agents frequently quoted low value for money from their customers. The price is considered too high to justify the quality of the products. There are two main reasons of this high price. Firstly, freight cost and loss in transportation were quite high for this kind of perished products. So these costs were priced into the product and increased the total price. And secondly, a high portion of these products they are packed as gift. They are packed as gift sets. So these gift sets, they target the high-end gift market. So the price is quite high. So many Daigou agents indicated that the sales would increase if the price decreased even a little bit. The second factor cited is that China's government regulation, especially the newly implemented e-commerce law, that might discourage small Daigou business. These regulations would likely influence logistic efficiency as well as the customer clearance speed. As the speed declines, it may cause an increasing number of lost parcels and damaged goods, especially for perished foods, leading to more compensation claims and potentially a loss of customer. Well, thirdly, all respondents mentioned increased competition among Daigou agents themselves. For large Daigou agents, more physical stores were open. For smaller Daigou agents, due to the very low entry requirements, an increasing number of new participants has entered this industry, which often lead to a price war and then to a reduced profit for Daigou agents. Seasonal factors are also very important. For example, some respondents said customers are usually more likely to consume milk powder and health products in winter and less likely to buy them in summer. And skin lotions would freeze in winter and the supplement capsules would melt in summer. So these factors also will affect the customer's purchasing behavior. Another important factor is related to the supply of Australian products. If product is out of stock for so long and the customer wait for so long, they could cancel the order and they could request a refund and they turn to Daigou even in other country. Okay, some Daigou believe that their time and effort spent on advertising and customer service is positively related to their revenue. So one said, if I spend more time on advertising and customer service, my sales definitely will be better. Okay, a number of other factors were also occasionally mentioned, such as the Chinese domestic food situation, like we said, food safety issues, and the Chinese, the competitions from other nations, like the Chilean cherries is quite competitive price in China market. Okay, according to Daigou Agents' future business plan, we are able to place Daigou Agents into 4 general or broad categories. There is only one Daigou agent clearly indicating that he or she would quit Daigou activities in the near future. And 9 Daigou agents intend to maintain the status quo and use Daigou profit to subsidize their living expenses. And 5 agents are still considering whether or not to develop their Daigou business further. There are 4 have already started to develop the Daigou business into a full-time endeavor. So to summarize, the majority of Daigou agents are likely to continue in either a part-time or full-time capacity, while a reasonable proportion of agents are optimistic about this market and the future opportunities and plan to expand their business further. Okay, so Alec is reminding me. I think this is all about the in-depth interview. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Phil.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Jun Huai. I'm a call me Jun, not July. Yeah, I'm a salesperson. I'm a content builder. I help my clients to build their videos, the posters, and all the sales and marketing collaterals. My clients from small to medium business, including educational providers or even casinos, some city councils, some state government bodies like SATC and immigration. So, and I also am in some organizations advisor like SAGC, South Australian Jockey Club, helping them to build the Chinese strategy to help them get more customers on board. Yeah. So let's get my story started. I used to help my clients to build all these collaterals, and I keep getting questions like, Jun, can you help me sell my stuff to China directly? I often said no. In the last 5 years, I turned many of my customers back because I don't believe I have enough resources back then. But from last year, end of last year, I started my own international trade business. The first one I tried is cherries, with Australian cherries. So the pre-sale start from mid-November. However, all the talks with different orchards and with my salesperson, or let's say Daigou in China or in Australia, start from August or September last year. And first shipment has been sent around Christmas, actually the first and second shipment. And the cherry season for me closed on around mid-January this year. I sell cherries in 2 different ways. First one, bulk selling. I mentioned I have to Shanghai and Guangzhou, and this is 2 major contacts majorly in Guangdong area. One of the most important area, I reckon, Alec and other friends have been mentioned. Which one is Daigou Yuan, and one is Vanguard, which is good customers. Yeah. Another one is direct selling. Mainly I sell all these cherries through WeChat. I don't have a online shop with Taobao or Tmall. I don't have a Vidian, but I have planned to build at least one channel this year. The centerpiece for this direct selling is I buy from the orchards in the hills, and within 48 to 72 hours, all this packaging, all this stuff, they send through air freight, and with another 24 to 48 hours, I use Shunfeng, the biggest logistic company in China, and all the goods, all the parts will send just to the doorstep of customer. So logistically, with one order, customers can order as small as with one box with 2 kilo box of cherries. They can get it in 4 days. Yep. So this is the look of my advertisement on my WeChat moment. So again, I don't have a WeChat or Tmall shop, so this is what it looks like when I send out to my friends and to my Daigou clients. Result, 5,000 kilograms, which is not as planned. I was planned to sell at least 20 to 50 tons because, as mentioned, I've got a few bulk buyers, but unfortunately, because the delay and the standards not quite that good when I send the samples to my bulk buying buyers. So that one is not selling really good on the bulk buyers, but I'm hoping this year the sales increase to at least 20 tons. Yeah. Okay, this is my strengths. Well, firstly, well connected with potential buyers, and I understand Chinese consumers, what they're looking for, and what the concerns. I'll cover some major concerns later in the Q&A session. And experience in selling with a number of channels, including Chinese social media platforms. Several names you have heard from me and covered from previous PowerPoints, like WeChat, and we have Tmall, and we have Taobao, we have Xiaohongshu, which is Redbook, and TikTok. In Chinese name, it's called Douyin, which is a short video platform like Vines in Australia and US, and along with other social media platforms, and they're quite powerful. I'll cover that later as well. All right, what went wrong? So on the supplier side, unfortunately, you have this late delivery issues and quality issues. I was supposed to send out all the goods to my customers to their home in about 4 or 5 days, but the first shipment was disaster, and I did a lot of like explanations after that, simply because it took 10 days, much longer than expected. And on the supply side, I have about 3 days delay, and the air freight, let's say logistic company, I got another 2-3 days delay on this side. So time is everything for the perishable fruits and perishable products. So 5 days delay is close to unacceptable actually. But luckily, for the second, third, and fourth shipment, it was just, everything solved. Every shipment take about 5 days. Yeah. And I get a big surprise on the air freight as well. This guy's just like double charged me when I get my invoice. I said, oh, so I have some dispute with them right now. Competitors, during the cherry season, we have chili. Chili is a big one. I read some numbers. The numbers here, the statistics here, Australian annually yield about somewhere between 20 to 25,000 tons of cherries, and Chile just like the production is about 10 times above us, about 200,000 tons every year. So they have very low cost in regards about everything actually, except the logistic. Yeah, Logistic costs could be 2 or 3 times higher than us, but everything else is lower. And New Zealand, I keep getting inquiries asking me if I do New Zealand cherries, because the reputation of New Zealand cherries is on top. It's the best. And the customers simply ask for, they ask for like double price. If I charge a double price for them, they accept it as well, because the quantity is so small and the reputation is high. What can I do better? I'm looking for a steady supply this year and reliable freight service. As I mentioned, my supplier is one of this orchard in Other Hills, and this year I just get contact with 8 different orchards, 3 in Victoria, 2 in Australia, and 3 in Tasmania. So last year I only had 1 supplier, which is like a part of the risk is too high. So more supplies means I have even longer selling window, so which is good for me. And more bulk buyers. Besides those 2 bulk buyers, Daigou and Vanguard, I have another 3 buyers, and the total, like the demand is great, but I have to really work on the quality of the sample as sent. I have to add one more point for the standard, like quality standard is the first shipment to China. We have agreement with orchard about 5%, like let's say bad cherries, 5%. But after the report sent to me, the number was 40%, which is crazy for me for the first one. Crazy, yeah. And exploit more social media marketing tools. Yep. Q&A. I get some questions prepared, but if you get more questions, please feel free to ask me after this. Okay, who handles the export permit in Australia, and who handles the import permit approved in China? This is all through a third party. You can, if you want to export and import yourself, yes you can, but it simply take more time and you need more people to help you. So I use a third party, which is not too bad. Sorry. And who handles the stock storage and send to consumers directly? Any tips to find such reliable business in China? A third party as well. I switched the third party from the second shipment, which was good experience from the second one. And well, if you would like to find a reliable third party to help you, let's say, to export and for the customer clearance, my recommendation is you probably have to fly there, meet some people here and talk with them on the internet or through the phone, but go there, Shanghai or Guangzhou, and meet some people and make decision. Yeah, look around in the warehouse and have talk with them. How many people are actually selling your cherries through WeChat? I have a head count. About 23 people directly sell my cherries, but they have people underneath them. So I'm guessing there's about 40 to 50 people selling my cherries in the WeChat. All right, what kind of questions would customer normally have before purchasing? Actually, it's all about trust. Customers they ask you whether this authentic goods whether it's come from Australia, and it's the best price I can offer. But based on the platforms we're on WeChat, most people I'm selling to, whether the relatives or friends or schoolmates, so we know each other pretty well, and through recommendation from them, I have a credit. So it's nothing like you build up a new platform and you meet up a bunch of new friends or new customers. So a lot of issues have been solved actually on WeChat. That's a powerful site on WeChat actually. All right, feedback on the product from customers that purchase through WeChat. For the cherry, for the products wise, we have this issue that South Australian cherry is not really firm. I have a lot of issues. Customers said, okay, your cherry tastes all right, tastes good, but it's not firm enough. And so compared with cherries, we're not really firm. I'd like to talk with more suppliers and orchards to find a way to work on that, because in China, customers looking for big ones, red or purple ones, and also firm ones. And do you think that you will continue to use a direct selling strategy? Definitely. I'm looking for more people to partner up with and more ways to sell. Do you have to plan the orders through WeChat before sending the cherries to China? That's an interesting one. For the first 2 shipments, I played it safe. So everything is about 2 tons. This 2 tons of cherries, I pre-sold every kilo. So, and I get paid for everything in before. And I paid for my orchard, my supplier, in full amount before they send it out, which is great for everyone. But the downside is it takes a bit more time to organize. So for the 3rd and 4th batch, I take some risk. I start pre-sale like about 4 or 5 days every time before I'm ready to send them out. But the 3rd or 4th one, I only sell like 50% of them, and then I use my money, my fund, to pay everything to orchards, because I feel it's comfortable that everything will be sold out very quickly, and I'm right. And the only regret was I should take more risks to buy more stuff, so I have more cherries to sell. Yeah, simply because a lot of customers ask me, even after everything set out, do you have more cherries? I said, oh dear. Okay. All right. How do you handle complaints and composition? That's a common question a lot of friends ask me. So we have a very generous and very straightforward policy here. Every time a customer asks me, okay, I've got some bad cherries and a lot of them is too soft, I said, okay, our policy is within 12 hours, all the customers, if they have complaint, they take photos and they get them to put all the bad cherries on a like, let's say a white background, like A4 paper or whatever, and we count on the numbers. Less than 10 cherries out of box, which has got a couple hundred cherries. Less than 10, we don't do refund, or we don't do compensation at all. It's like in the range. From 10 to 20%, we'll just pay back based on the percentage. We just pay them. We just refund them. Around 25-30%, we just give them full refund, which is quite generous actually, very generous. If they pay us like a couple hundred RMB and within a quarter of bad cherries, I will pay them a full box, simply because we try to sell more. The quantity wins. If we can sell more boxes, and even though for the first shipments, we just have 40% bad cherries, we make it even. We don't have lose on the first one. All right, this is an interesting part because we have some pictures in this part, which is good. My partners in China, one of these partners in Chengdu, in Sichuan, and the name is Guojia, a Taobao seller, and that's the logo there. They use different means to sell and promote. Taobao live stream, which is really powerful. WeChat Moments post, that's what I did. Douyin video marketing, which is TikTok short video share. I'd like to make a highlight for the Taobao live stream. Another story of Taobao live stream, one of this girl called Nicole, Chinese girl, she's in Adelaide. She's one of the Taobao live stream, let's say influencer or like a star. Maybe she's going to be a superstar one day. A good case study was last year she did a 2-hour live stream session with Jalik. So she went to the Jalik farm in front of all this lavender and everything for the raw material, and also in the shop on the farm. Within 2 hours, she managed to sold about a month of sales. About a month of sales in the 2 shops around the mall and on another street. I forgot it. So 2 hours, so 1 month portion. So, which is crazy. Simple because she have thousands of followers on the Taobao, and once she announced, okay, I'm going to live stream today, over a couple thousand people would go there, and the way she do the live stream sell is people just look around with her in the farm to the field, and when she get back to the shop and on the farm, she said, okay, let's put orders, let's get orders fly, and all the orders flying. Before she left, all the money had been paid through WeChat Pay through WeChat, and before she leave, all the money had been paid to Jalik as well, and orders, customer's name, address, contact number, email, everything just been left to Jalik, and they're ready to start packing and start for the courage for the freight in second day. So which was crazy. Yeah, 2 hours. Yeah, same thing happens here with Guojia. The girl in the middle, this girl in a very colorful dress, she's Tibetan Chinese. They do what they're doing. They're doing a live stream right now and take a selfie. And second photo would be after a session, live stream session, normally 2 or 2.5 hours with Taobao. And she start packing and making notes for all the sales, just like the case as I mentioned with Nicole. And Guo, she was on the Chinese TV as well. This is one of the most famous TV station, Hunan TV station. Many of my Chinese friends, they may know this one. So she's on the TV programs. WeChat shop. This is the built-in WeChat shop on WeChat. So it's quite easy. So it's integrate everything within your WeChat. Open it. You can share your moments. You can share advertisement, all the photos and short videos in WeChat. And WeChat they have a program called mini program, 小程序. When you click on it, or you scan a QR code, or if you're interested about a picture and they have a little small QR code, and you just like read it, and you go straight to the WeChat shop. And yeah, that's all the features. They have cherries here, which is 1 kilo worth. They sell it about $30 Australian dollars. That's Chinese cherry at the season. And they have beef, Tibetan yak beef, honey from Yunnan, and raw sugar, cherry tomatoes, and some Chinese medicine. Yeah, that's how it looks like with WeChat. So you don't have to jump between different platforms or mobile apps. It's just building with one app, WeChat. And also after you browse everything, and you can just pay it through WeChat. You don't have to leave WeChat to do everything. And that's a package for the cherry. Actually, I have a talk with her, with my friend Daigou, day before yesterday. She said that's the 4th generation of packaging. This one is popular in China now. So every cherry, they have little space there. Make sure they've been protected very well. All right. And thanks. That's my contact number. If you have more questions, more than happy to hear from you. And currently, I'm looking for more products, including Australian honey and Australian olive oil and other products from agriculture section. So if you have the products, please contact me. Thank you.
So do we have a first question?
I listened to a podcast of Saturday Extra a couple of weeks ago, and John Brumby, former Labor Premier apparently, and National President of the Australia-China Business Council, mentioned that there were 60,000 Daigou in Australia. Would you see that figure as correct or an underestimate? 60,000.
60,000.
So some reports, some news articles actually estimate much more, like 200,000 or some to 400,000. But as Sales mentioned, a lot of them are actually casual Daigou. They do very small volumes. And if you look at the number of Chinese staff from Australia and number of international students in Australia, actually, and then take a percentage of people who would like to do Daigou, actually, that's probably not that many, yeah, especially for the Daigou agents who do this type of business or occupation.
Your cherries, two parts to the question. You brand them yourself, or you're maintaining the brands from those orchards?
Maintain the brands. But I have to then plan to build my own brands.
Sure. And the second question is probably for more of the whole panel, is about the gift market. So, Daigou's often, from my experience, are trying to buy stuff cheap that are on market and then just make that margin by reselling it in China right to friends and family. Is there a growing, or do you see a growing movement towards the high-end market, gift market to family, friends, and corporates even, where Daigous are being contacted by Chinese people to buy that and send it over as a gift rather than just a general consumption product?
I think for gift markets, the corporates would be a little bit tough because the anti-corruption in China is actually quite tough now. So, but for personal gifts, yes, there are lots of products being packaged as gifts. But Chinese people are very smart now, especially with higher educated consumers in big first-tier cities. They want the sellers to be experts in this field. You cannot just be like not very definite. You ask every questions, and once you make some mistake, they won't trust you anymore. They're very cautious. So I don't think the Daigou, they buy the product cheap and then they repackage as a premium product. We use it as a sustainable way of doing business in China. But you need to have your really good brand, good quality. Quality is always key.
I'd like to add. I just come back from Guangdong last Friday, Saturday, and I made a tour in Guangdong within different cities, and one of his clients, a friend of mine, recommended me. He's a high-rank officer in one of the big insurance companies in China called Ping An. Sorry, it's not Ping An. It's called Taiping Pacific Insurance in China, and we just could contact. He got a quota of about 20 million Chinese yuan, about 4 million Australian dollars quota for import high quality gift, because he have millions of customers and some VIPs there. So looking for some gifts that that rare in the market, or let's say Australian cherries or Italian cherries or some high quality olive oil or honey. So especially he asked me for the cherry and honey and olive oil. So that could be interesting for the private sector, like insurance company or private bank or some big private companies. It could be interesting that your products could sell directly through people like me to all this big corporate, because everyone have like millions or a couple millions of dollars, even $2 million of order every year to send out to the customer. So it could be interesting.
Can I just add one point? So on the gift, you'll notice in the data we showed there were spikes around the festivals. So gifts are more likely to occur around the festivals, especially for things like Australian mangoes, which are very popular in pudding gifts. Professor Robin Roberts there at the back, so she's running a big AC project on Australian mangoes and Chinese preferences, etc. So it is linked to specific events within the Chinese government that we use.
I think we have this gentleman here, and then Audrey had a question again. And just as a reminder, can you say your name and where you're from, too?
Trevor Ranford, involved in horticultural industries many years, including CEO of Cherry Growers Australia. I'm interested in what background you had in cherries before you took it on. What information you gathered, and the other question is, and the real concern for commercial industries, is the biosecurity component. Are you actually buying from a shed that's registered to ship to China, and are they doing the right protocols to go to China?
Good question. Well, all right. First, the background. I haven't got a background with like international trade of cherry before that. The reason I do this simply because number one, I love eating cherries. I love cherries. But my family, my wife and my kids, they love cherries more than me. So, wow. So that's the first one. And second one, I'd like to mention one concept in China. It's borrowed like terminology from financial freedom. In China, there's a word called cherries freedom. Yes. That means last year, this is really famous on the Chinese internet, that people said, okay, if you can buy me a cherry anytime with any price, well, you're a good man or you're a good girl or whatever. Yeah, send us a gift. So that means still at this stage, Australian cherries, which we have good reputation and high quality, we have big chance to take China market, and we have big chance to corner the market even, to have high margin. But my concern was we have very small window now because we have competitors from Chile, and we even have some Chinese domestic growers, and they start growing and they start expanding very fast. And on the Australian side, I'm worried about as growers or as suppliers or the whole ecosystem in cherry industry, we're moving too slow, and a lot of people just being really hesitate or even paranoid. Yeah. Many people ask me in the industry like, okay, I heard it's good. I heard from other friends good, but it really is. Or Chinese people, are they really easy to deal with? And what if I get a big order, but next year I don't have this big order? I have to deal with my employee, I have to deal with my production line. A lot of questions actually, I understand. But sometimes you have to take some risk. Sometimes you have to talk more and think more, and even you fly to China a couple of times and meet people there and have a look in the market. Yeah, that's my suggestion. What's another question?
The biosecurity.
I agree with you, and I think the opportunities are there. But the failure for many people who are going into this concept is that they don't understand the industry. You know, this year, 2018 was the first legal year South Australia had access to mainland China.
Yes.
And it wasn't a good season in real terms. So, you know, people, you're probably better than many others who don't know, and, you know, I suppose my comment to people is if you're going to go into this, understand it, research it, because, you know, it will come back and bite you. And, you know, the other side of it is the legality of the protocols. You know, the Australian cherry industry spent over 10 years developing or getting access to mainland China. One bad shipment from somebody like your business with a fruit fly can destroy a multi-million-dollar industry overnight. And we've seen that happen this year with summer fruit into China. The Chinese interpreted the protocol differently, and it closed the market around Chinese New Year. It probably cost the Australian summer fruit industry, we're talking peaches and nectarines, probably 2,000 tonne of crop that couldn't go in that period of time. So the market can change so quickly and it can be destroyed so quickly by the wrong information.
And I think we want to come back to that point because it's actually something that a department would like us to ask, the Department of Ag, because obviously as the government agency that oversees biosecurity, we know that, you know, one package, even a small package of cherries that makes it over and makes it into the news is violating biosecurity rules and regulations could close the borders for anything. So that is a concern to the department, and that's one of the reasons why I think the project got up, is because they want to better understand it. But I think I want to come back to that. But Olga, did you have a question? And then I think Robin in the back has a question.
Yeah. Hello, my name is Olga. I'm an export advisor with Business SA. We run an export ready training program for coaching and training of businesses, giving them a 101 on exporting. But my question is, in terms of the sensory character, I was intrigued to learn that the Chinese obviously prefer a crunchy cherry as opposed to something that's kind of very fleshy. Have you thought of any way of promoting the fact that maybe a fleshier cherry is much more enjoyable? Because, you know, is it variety related? Is it something to do with cold chains?
But I suppose historically Chinese cherries that they've produced have been crunchy and a slightly different colour. Certainly what I've seen over the years is the increase in demand for a higher colour based probably from the American cherry situation, and that's where the wet centuries are in that area. Again, some of it is a seasonal situation. If the season's not right here with the weather conditions, then they will go off very quickly. So you know, that's why John, as an exporter, and that's what he is, needs to understand what's happening in the market at any point in time. And you know, I encourage you to look at other suppliers in other states, because that's where you can expand your window of opportunity, but also you can check the qualities to ensure that what you're looking for is coming from it.
I have to say spot on, and I use the registered orchard. Yeah, the only one last year in South Australia. The one from Russia. I won't mention the name.
I'm happy to talk to you one-on-one on opportunities around the country.
Although I'm very disappointed for the 40% lecture, which is crazy for me. Yeah, good thing is for the second and third one, not just stop bleeding and making some wings, which is good. Sorry.
Thank you. No, good point. Robin.
Robin Roberts from University of Brisbane. It's a lot warmer over there. Sarah, I'm sorry I came in halfway through, but what a great study. One question I'm interested in is, did it come up about authenticity and certification and country of origin? Because often we have a lot of copies, don't we, or people claiming to be Australian cherries, and they're not Australian cherries. So was that one of the questions you asked, or was there something
So the attitudinal statements that I talked about right at the end. So the statement that was agreed with the most was about verification, the knowledge that the product they were buying from Australia, that they knew the farm it came from, that it was verified. So that was what Chinese consumers most agreed with. That's what they wanted to know. And I think this is a really good question for June, in the sense, how do you convey to your customers that that is, you know, the cherries are definitely coming from that farm? How do you do that?
The traceability.
Sure. Yeah. So we have two different approaches. One we call dumb solutions. Dumb ones, like we make a lot of efforts to take a lot of photos, videos, and show our customers on the WeChat and other platforms. But realistically, it could be faked, right? So I reckon the smart approach would be using more technology, like let's say blocking chain. Yeah. I know some people that are doing blocking chain, like a tracking system in South Australia.
I think we actually have a partner called CryptoSA. So this is blockchain-based company in South Australia. So unfortunately, the founder of the business cannot make it today. He's back in Beijing. He was going to come, but then he just, for some very urgent commitment, he had to go to Beijing. So they are actually implementing their trial of blockchain with a few wineries in Adelaide. So if you want to have this technology at go, then company could pick up with CryptoSA. So we're using the blockchain. I think it's all about the packaging. So if you have a small packaging of cherries and send to China, and the QR code or NFC chips will record everything during the transport, and the customers can scan the QR code, and that scanning can only be done a few times. If you scan too many times, it will just become invalid. Yeah.
All right, in the maroon shirt.
Paul Van der Lee, wine industry.
Yes.
I just wanted to explore the legal situation on the Chinese side of the border. I'm sure I've read about changes in legislation in China which now imposes some limitations on the annual amount that Daigou can actually ship direct. Yeah. Can you just update me in terms of what that situation is?
So that's about the personal tax-free allowance. So it's accumulative of things, including everything like wine, even clothes, or electronics. So everything that you can import, and you accumulative. I can't remember the figure, but there is definitely value each year for each one, because whenever you receive parcels from overseas, you have to record your identity number, and then this will be recorded in the customer system.
So does that then create a limitation in terms of expansion of Daigou as a sales channel?
No. Like the one, if you send them back here, they still pay the value-added tax, but because of the free trade, you don't have those duties. I can't remember whether one's duty zero or not. Is it zero now? Is it zero, right? So most of the products actually have zero duties, but they still have to pay the value-added tax. So when the one clear the customers, they will send you a message to your mobile, and then they ask you to pay the tax, and then they will clear the products. And regarding the free trade, the zero tax, so this is from Austrade in Shanghai. So we ask them whether you say like a huge increase of sale volumes because of the free trade and zero duties for most of the products. And also with this like transfer to price reduction for consumers, but the answer is not necessarily, because now a lot of countries have free trade arrangements with China. Even within Australia, a lot of producers are trying to sell to China, which increases the competition. Even though you don't have the duties, but competition is more fierce, and then this will translate the money being used for promotion and marketing, which will not necessarily to reduce the price, which will be again for consumers.
Thank you.
Bear in